Go.
Welcome to Global Chamber Accra Chicago Joint Meetup. Today's session is mainly on Africa Union Day, and I am co-hosting today's session with Demetrius. My name is Sharon Matik. I am the Deputy Director for Global Chamber Accra. My Executive Director, who is Ruby Golo, who organized this awesome session, is a bit under the weather, so she's unable to be present now. So I'm co-hosting with Demetrius from Chicago. I serve as Executive Director, Deputy Director for Global Chamber Accra chapter. I also run a consultancy business called Afrique Monitor, which is a trade development consultancy headquartered in Cameroon and also incorporated in Ghana and serves about 30 African markets. So today, in commemoration with Africa Union Day, we are co-hosting our Accra event with Chicago. So I would like to pass over the speaking baton to Demetrius to tell us what's in store for us today. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh my gosh, I love that music. Ruby said that was going to get me up and going, and I'm here dancing. I'm like, yes, it's time for Africa. Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Sharon. Ruby, our blessings go out to you for health and for wealth and for security and anything that you need, Ruby. You just reach up and you grab it. God's got it. So when Ruby and I first started talking about what can we do for Africa Day, we know that a lot of work has gone into Africa Day from the African Union, and that in Chicago, we started celebrating about 5 years ago. So about 5 years ago, actually, the African Global Chamber of Commerce decided that they were going to ask the mayor to have an official proclamation that Africa Day is celebrated in Chicago. And it has just continued. It has grown. We had a huge celebration here on Saturday. So let me just kind of lay some framework. And then I think we have a guest. Is our guest on?
Mr. Bansa, let me check.
I'm looking, I didn't necessarily see, but I mean, while you're checking, and it doesn't, I mean, I hope that he's on. Even if he's not on, there's enough for us to talk about, right? There's a lot to talk about here. So as an introduction, Africa Day is celebrated annually on May 25th. It commemorates the founding of the Organization of African Unity. This started in 1963, and it later evolved into the African Union. The African Union's mission is to promote unity, peace, and prosperity across the continent, ensuring that Africa speaks with one global voice. This is the challenge, one global voice as we are speaking. Over the decades, the African Union has become a pivotal institution in driving African development, focusing on economic integration, political stability, and social justice. Africa Day is not only a celebration of these accomplishments, but it's also a reminder of the ongoing journey towards self-sufficiency and collaboration on a global scale. Now, what kind of progress have we made? The African Union's progress and the vision have come together through an agenda called the Agenda of 2063. And one of the most important elements of the African Union's vision is the implementation of this agenda, which seeks to transform the continent into a global economic powerhouse, excuse me, through strategic goals such as economic integration, industrialization, and sustainable development. The agenda includes promoting inclusive development, creating a unified African market, advancing education, technology, and improving governance and peace, And through this framework, Africa is positioning itself to be a global leader in trade, investment, and innovation. However, this is an ambitious vision and requires a full commitment to overcoming challenges such as political instability, infrastructure gaps, and informal economy. Achieving these goals will require strong partnerships, focused policies, and a concerted effort to integrate all sectors of society. So with that introduction, why don't I pause there and Sharon, you tell me, do we have our guest?
It seems that our guest is having some challenges joining us, but I would say yeah, he's having a lot of challenges joining us. I think it's a network issue.
Okay.
And so we just carry on. Like you said, Demetrius, there's a lot to talk about. So let's carry on till he
We'll just
enters.
keep going. Okay, fantastic. Then I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Mhm.
Can you see it? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So as I said, I've already given kind of the background, but millions of people on or around May 25th, we couldn't do it last week, so much going on. So I'm so happy that this date opened up for you all's chamber, because this was a perfect day for me. So millions across Africa and beyond continue to celebrate Africa Day, making it a significant mark for the African Union. So this day is honoring our journey towards unity, independence, and collective progress. By the way, I am Demetrius Evans, if I think we already said that, but I started a little company about 16 years ago called the Evans International Law Firms, where we do contracts, international global compliance, and intellectual property. So trademarks, patents, and copyrights internationally. So that is a little bit about me. So, okay, the origins of the day. In 1958, the first African Freedom Day conference was held in Accra, Ghana. And then in 1963, the OAU formally established in Addis Ababa,
Addis
Ethiopia.
Ababa.
Ethiopia.
Mhm.
And then in 2002, the OAU evolved into the African Union. And so this is about the Pan-African movement seeking liberation from colonial rule. And this day, the date commemorates when the 30 African leaders united for freedom. So again, going through the vision and the goals, it's for African unity, fostering solidarity among nations, decolonization, supporting liberation struggles, and improving the quality of life, the living standard for everyone. So going from the OAU to the African Union was no small feat, right? There was a focus in 1963 on decolonizations and anti-apartheid struggles, which, you know, if we're old enough, we all remember how difficult that was. But we do realize that the world came together to support South Africa, and after Mandela went to jail, of course, for such a long period, to, you know, to free the people there. We have this full transition period in the 1990s, where there's a shifting of priorities to development and integration. So we just, you know, after this decolonization, we just begin to see all of this growth happening. And then in 2002, the AU is established, and it's going to then expand its mandate for peace, prosperity, and one global voice. The AU actually emerged on July 9th of 2002 with a broader mission, because all of these other things had already started to take place, and it continues to address contemporary challenges that are facing the continent. So here are some major achievements of the African Union. Peacekeeping, There were missions deployed to Somalia, Darfur, and other conflict zones that reduce active conflicts through mediation and diplomacy. Economic integration, the launching of AFCA, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement in 2018, which created a framework for single aviation markets and infrastructure development. So whereas all African countries were not necessarily trading with each other because colonization had the goods, the minerals, the richness of the land going out of the country, or out of the countries. So now we see that these countries coming together to trade with each other. And then democratic governance, established African Charter on democracy, elections, and governance, monitored elections, and promoted human rights across the continent. The African Union continues to drive key development initiatives across multiple sectors, and it employs youth and advances continual prosperity. So Africa Day celebrations, the celebrations are extending beyond May 25th in many countries. Like we're celebrating a little bit beyond May 25th, but they have developed in many ways. Like even in the States where I am in Chicago, different neighborhoods are celebrating in different ways. So there may be dancing, there may be the one that I was at on Saturday, there were a lot of round tables so that the ambassador from the African Union came and gave us some, we were talking about the 6th region. And so she gave us some pointers on what we can do to continue to make this day a stronger day. But there are showcases of rich African cultural diversity, showcasing our shared heritage. The events are ranging from formal ceremonies to community festivals and academic discussions. So just looking at some annual themes and recent focuses in 2024, let me start with 2021. The focus was on arts, culture, and heritage. And I think that this is an easy way for us to connect, through the color of our skin, our backgrounds, our heritage, the arts that, the colors, like I decided I'm wearing my green and my red today. So this was an easy way to begin to bring us together. In 2022, the focus was strengthening resilience in nutrition, which, is a worldwide issue that we're, growing our own food and making it sustainable for all communities. And 2023, the annual theme was Our Africa, Our Future. And then in 2024, Education Fit for the 21st Century. Now, I am realizing that I don't have 2025 on here, and I actually don't. Go ahead.
Revisiting our history, shaping our future.
That's it. I mean, and that makes sense, right? That's where we are. Each year, we're bringing a new theme addressing current priorities. Recent focuses in areas include education, youth empowerment, and cultural heritage. Again, the celebration that I was at on Saturday, the focus was on the youth, so the future, and women, empowering women in all different sectors to thrive. I could, if you wanted to, Sharon, you can jump in here. I can pause and you can jump in here if you'd like. Or I can
So I think you can go ahead, Demetrius.
Okay, I'll just finish this. I think I have a couple more slides. So conclusion, the relevancy of Africa Day. So we have 55 AU member states representing 1.3 billion people that are involved. We have 60 plus years of unity. and continuing to progress, as well as economic regions working towards integration. I think that this is one theme that continued to come up where I can see that we have some work to do. Africa Day remains a powerful symbol of continental unity. It inspires continued progress toward shared aspirations, and the AU's vision guides Africa toward a prosperous, peaceful future on the global stage. Okay, that is my last slide, and I want to talk just a little bit about these regions and where I saw some needed progress, especially with the sixth region. So the African Union divided Africa into five different regions, but everyone who is outside of Africa, and that includes everyone everywhere who's not in Africa, you know, definitely in the Americas. There were some issues that came up around Haiti, that Haiti has applied to be a part of the African Union, but there's been some issues, and so there were people from Haiti, you know, making determinations on, you know, how they would address the ambassador and giving her questions that she answered, you know, in a way that was like, keep going. We're still trying to figure this out. But it seems to me that the sixth region, which includes African Americans and you know, African Caribbeans, African Haitians, it includes everyone. But it is so large that the representation at the AU level, I think it's been a little bit difficult in the governance of the sixth region. And so that's kind of where I see myself being able to plug in and to help push the vision. There are that I know of in the US, there are 3 different nonprofit organizations that have formed to help to guide the sixth region. So I think that next year, if I was able to propose a theme, it would be, you know, bringing all Africans together or something like that, because that's where I see the issues that we need to work on. So that is my presentation. I can stop there. And because I went through that way faster than I realized, and probably should have, I speak really fast, maybe we could open it up and let me hear if other people are even aware. Like, were you aware of Africa Day? If you were aware of it, did you join in any celebrations? Do you have plans to join in any celebrations? And, you know, how far have you seen it come?
So, I think before we go on, Demetrius, I would like to speak a bit also.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much for your elaborate presentation on Africa Union Day. Whatever you said there is what it is, okay? And I like the fact that you put together all the themes across the years from 2021 and you left out 2025. Okay, so well, I think generally there is a Pan-African sentiment growing across the sub-region, but Africa Union Day, as we know, is a day to commemorate African unity. But I think this discussion has been had a long time ago, okay? This discussion has been in existence since Kwame Nkrumah. You also went with us through the history of the whole celebration. Now, I would think from an African perspective, I think even people in the diaspora probably celebrate African Union Day, commemorate it more glamorously than here, because here we have maybe some landmark event or something by the states. That's about it. But there's a growing sentiment around Pan-Africanism generally across the African continent. I think most of even the political leaders are trying their best to see if they can integrate all the synergies across the continent. So we have bodies like the African Free Continental Trade Area after policy or after initiative, which seeks to in trade, in terms of trade, provide a big African market, okay, for trade, exports, imports, whatever it is. We also have what we call recently the Agenda 2063, which is looking at the future of Africa. So we are looking at a more sustainable, the developed continent. I mean, we're looking at a future where we are building the Africa we want. My personal sentiments are that 2063 is too far. I don't know if I'll be alive in 2063, but I think that the discussion around building the kind of Africa we want has been a discussion that has been pending, in my opinion, for too long. Okay, so I would think in our generation, in our time when we are alive and we have the opportunities we can, let's see how to foster and bridge African unity, because again, I always, as a business person, say that the African, apart from descent, okay, the African spirit or the African person is the person who actually wants the good of the continent. So the person might not even be an African descent, but the person is willing to partner for the good of the continent. So in business, I say being African is not necessarily being born in Africa, is carrying the African spirit. Okay. So again, that discussion for Pan-Africanism, one market, ease in relating with Africans in different spaces, has been pending for so long, from the time of Kwame Nkrumah, the first Ghanaian president. This has been pending, and we are still in 2025. I don't know for sure if we have broken through significantly, because I don't think we have, because traveling from Cameroon to Accra is actually more expensive than traveling from Douala, Cameroon to JFK. Yeah. So your airline fares might be cheaper moving from here to France than moving from here to Kenya, of course. So again, those discussions are still pending currently, and there's a lot we are saying, like Agenda 2063. Like I say, 2063 is too far, but for now, we can all contribute in our own little ways to build the Africa we want. So let me give you a little interesting stat. Did you know that the diaspora, for example, remittance to sub-Saharan Africa in 2024 was about 56 billion USD? Okay. In terms of remittance, just from the African diaspora, people who live in the diaspora who are sending money to sustain their families back home in Africa, it's about 56 billion USD. Now you think about how such an amount might be
It seems we lost Sharon, Demetrius.
Oh, no, okay. She'll probably log back in. I wanted to touch upon a little bit of what Sharon was saying about the difficulty. My experience is, because I'm not on the continent and not that often, but I don't live on the continent, is the difficulty of bringing people in the sixth region together. So, I mean, obviously we're talking about every other continent. And so when I think about, first of all, the name of the sixth region, I think that there's just so much education that has to happen around people understanding what it is and what it means. Even hearing diaspora, I think that this is, for many people that I talk to, it's very new. You know, you say diaspora
Oh.
and you have to break it down, and people don't really understand exactly what it is that you're talking about. So Sharon, I'm glad you're back. So one of the things that you were saying, you know, when you're talking about like what all needs to happen even on the continent for us to go forward, there's so much education at a very basic level. I also, I want to give it back to you, but I want to say it's if what is it, like a ball in motion will continue in motion until there is something that's
An external force.
okay. We have had that all along the way, right? As soon as it was introduced, obviously we had the assassination of Nkrumah. So, I mean, all along the way, the agenda has been stopped, and it's not been because African or those who think with an Afrocentric mindset, those who love Africa, have the African spirit. It's not because we have not continued to push it forward. It's because of outside forces. We know that that many leaders have been killed for this reason. And there is a very good reason to stop the agenda. There is a very good reason, because colonial powers, I mean, it all comes down to almighty money, do not want to give this up. So let me stop there, because I could talk more. I could probably talk forever about that. You all will be like, okay, Demetrius, that's enough. But I want to give it back to you, Sharon.
Sharon and
Yes, so I think,
I just
yeah.
want to make sure that you see Mr. Benza is already in the room. He managed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Caesar, for letting us know. So Demetrius, it's back to you. I'm handing it back to you. Would you take the introduction for Mr. Bansa?
Okay, fantastic. Mr. Brown, I don't actually, can we bring him up on the screen? Yes. I don't see him. Okay.
Mr. Benza,
Yeah.
you need to unmute yourself and put your camera on.
Can we maybe bring him center?
Let's see. There we go. Mr. Benz, are you able to speak?
Seems muted, and his video is also off.
Well, I'm just gonna say a little bit
Oh.
about him. He is
Okay.
not only an author, but he is a part of the Africa Policy Network, the ex-IOM Advocacy Consultancy Group. He is a member and a policy expert with the AU. And knows so much about Agenda 2063, as well as he is a communications expert and a peace and security advocacy member. So I hope that we can figure out what is happening with the Zoom here, but technology is definitely not one of my strong points. So as soon as we figure it out, we will get him to the center. So let me talk a little bit about Agenda 2063. For Africa to realize the full potential of its Agenda 2063, and to include the 6th region, the continent is going to have to focus on strategic partnerships that build the gaps in infrastructure, education, technology, which we know that this is all about international trade, which is exactly what the Global Chamber is about, making sure that we connect with each other, doing warm introductions so that you don't have to do that. So if ever on this webinar or any other webinar or any event that we have, if you see that there is a connection that you you'd like to make, or some synergy between what one of the speakers is saying and something that you'd like to hear about. It doesn't have to be that you're ready to start a partnership. We just want people all over the globe to connect. So it could just, my whole thing is, let's do a virtual coffee and see where the synergy is. There is, as humans, we are going to have some synergy. So please don't be afraid to raise your hand, to put in the chat. Cesar is here, and he is like phenomenal with connecting everyone to anybody that I have needed to be connected to, he has connected me to. Let me just say that. So please feel free to reach out. So trade relations within Africa, we know that there's been some.
So Demetrius,
yes, you want to jump in here?
I think, not to cut you, but I think Mr. Benson's video and microphone is on.
Oh, it
My
is?
microphone was on, so I don't know if we could hear from him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Can you hear
Mr.
me?
Benson.
Yes.
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 Hello?
We can hear you, and wherever you'd like. I've done a brief introduction
hear
of
you.
you. He can't hear us.
I think he's having really tech issues because he's been coming in and out with the mic and the video.
Quite tacky.
I'm just going to tell him in the chat that we hear him.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can. We can, Mr. Benson.
Wow.
He can't hear us.
Hello?
He can't hear us, so he thinks that we can't hear him.
Okay. All right.
And I don't have a phone number.
Yes, he can't hear us. It seems he can't hear us. Yes, so I'm just gonna see if.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay, I'm going to sneak this in while we're figuring that out. The role of women and youth in achieving Africa's future is essential. And I know that we know that that women, especially
Hello,
Black.
can you hear me?
Yes. Every time he says that, I'm going to say yes. But it's essential. It's essential because women play an integral role in the development of all economies, but especially in Africa's economy, particularly with entrepreneurship. And so supporting women is vital to achieving the AU's agenda, as there are key drivers in economic growth and job creation. The youth, with their growing numbers, have continued to increase. So I think here in Chicago, we have continued to support and grow projects like fellowships that will allow the youth to be placed into governments, into the private sectors for internships, so that they can learn and we can learn from them. Because I actually have 2 youth myself, and what I realize is that they are very smart. They grew up with the internet, and so they think in a way that we don't. And I'm speaking for myself here, but they speak in a way that we don't. They speak a language that we don't, that's kind of all their own. And so if we have to tap into them and make sure that they are part of the leadership and not just following what those in the African Union or in our smaller organizations are doing, because you know how we, as adults and those who have been in business for a while, we always think that we know, but sometimes they can just go right to the heart of things, especially with technology, because they kind of grew up with it. It's innate. So empowering both women and youth through targeted policies, I think is going to be important going forward. Also making sure that they have access to capital. I was just reading that Burkina Faso has started a different bank, an intercontinental bank that will be making sure that there's access to capital for entrepreneurs. And we have to provide these leadership opportunities, these leadership opportunities within all of our organizations, within our businesses, within the government, so that they can lead. Let me do this as we're waiting on him to come up. We have so many people here. I'm so happy to see so many people. Has anyone on here, have you been celebrating? And tell me, I guess, just how long have you been celebrating Africa Day? I'm really curious to know, I guess, just being from the 6th region, and only knowing about it and celebrating for 5 years. I want to know what other people around the world are doing to celebrate, or if they are yet celebrating. So I have someone in the chat that says, oh, okay. Okay. So Jacob says, Jacob, do you want to unmute and say it yourself, or do you want me to read it? Hello, everyone. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just was saying, no, it's always great to be here with this community. And so I was just saying thank you, and it's great to also learn more. So yeah, no, I'll pass the mic back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Jacob. And I see that Pamela, you have your hand up. Please go forward.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking us through the Africa Day and the history behind the Africa Day. When I'm Emilia now, and I'm from the southern part of Africa, and I can say that the African Day has been celebrated since I was a child, going to primary school, which is like elementary school. And all the kids will come representing different parts. We make sure that all regions from the northern, central, all parts, the sub-Saharan Africa is represented, and would embrace different cultures from across the globe. So from my understanding, when it comes to the communities, the Africa Day has been celebrated mainly in embracing the cultures. But I would like to really appreciate that Sharon did put a focus on the other aspects of Africa, like looking at the AU's Vision 2063. It's important for us, yes, to embrace the culture, but also to make sure that we focus on where Africa is at and where it's progressing. If only those parts can also be incorporated during this celebration, to ensure that everyone has an understanding of Africa Day and realizing where we're at. And it is well celebrated and embraced. Thank you so much.
Oh, Pamela, that is awesome. I had no idea. So you've always celebrated since you were a child. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because that really gives me a great perspective. If I've only been celebrating it for 5 years, we have a lot of work to do in the 6th region. I see that Mr. Benson, he had his camera on, and if you are available, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, just a little.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, fine. So, for your issues, so very sorry about that. But even he, where would you meet just please?
No, we can't really make it out.
Yeah.
We can't really make
Hello,
it
can
out.
you hear? If he,
I think he's
Well,
probably struggling with his bandwidth,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of hushed speech.
We have a, I think he's trying to say something. Go ahead.
What would you?
If you want to write it, I will just speak it out loud. If you want to type it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you.
You can.
No,
Yeah,
I just suggest we go.
he's having trouble with bandwidth according to Zoom as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a bandwidth issue.
Doreen Ofoso, if you would like to speak, you had some comments in the chat. Good morning. A big thanks to the organizers for an informative meeting on Africa Day. Surprisingly, is this Britannia.com does not have Africa Day on their.
Britannica.
Oh, you mean, interesting.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
The encyclopedia. Okay. So that's interesting. And I think that this it shows how much work that we have to do. I suggest that we write them. And if you want to do it, please put it in the chat. But if you don't do it, I will be writing them. I think that we have to make sure that it's in every dictionary, because how are we going to make sure that the youth know what it is that we're trying to do? Also, how do we get everyone on the same page? Sharon has already said that 2063 is really, really a long ways away. It doesn't mean that we wait until that time period, but Sharon, I think you'll still be alive. I'll contact you then. But
I hope to be.
As hopefully we don't have to wait all of that time before the agenda. We see the effects of the agenda, but if we have that as a goal, we just keep moving forward. And I think that that this comment is really important in saying, as well as Pamela's comment, that in certain parts of Africa it's been celebrated, and it's just everyone else that needs to get caught up. So I think that we all have a responsibility. If you see that it's not mentioned somewhere, that it's not on a calendar where every other holiday is celebrated, I think that we have to write those who are creating those calendars, or, to write Sharon and I, or Ruby and I, or all of us, and say, can we have a joint letter where we're asking for the recognition?
Yeah.
It looks like, do we have another comment?
Super. I would think to make it a bit more interactive, we would like the audience to speak up as well. In the meantime, please feel free to put your contact details in the chat box. Global Chamber is all about networking, so feel free to put your profile and your contact details in the chat box.
And while we're waiting for someone to raise their hand, please jump in. But I want to say that,
this is Chris here.
Yes.
For Sharon and Miss Evans. I'm from Uganda originally. I've been here a very short time, 50 years in the US. I just want to share something that we've been very successful on. We have an agriculture consulting business out of US, and we do international high value crops, and we've done projects in Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia. I wanted to see if you can connect with somebody that is ready to possibly take advantage of our expertise, and that has the land and a little bit of the resources. So I would appreciate if you can put me in touch with somebody that is ready to go and work fast on this. And this is excellent for women as well.
Okay. Cesar, I know that he heard you, and he's probably gone off camera so he can figure out who to connect you with right now. That is how he is, and that is how the Global Chamber is. So thank you. We'll make sure you get connected. Theory says, in Utah, we celebrated it from Utah Valley University. There are many nonprofits. There's relations between Utah and the African continent, including 100 humanitarians, and then in parentheses, Kenya, Inter-Ethnic Health Alliance, Uganda, and what is it? Salt Lake Community College Mill Entrepreneur Center, Global Chamber member, and the Ngoma Y African Cultural Center. The whole continent of Africa had galas. Woo! I love it. I love it. Hello to the group, some familiar friends and some new ones. My work with the African community is sustainable development professional. Who is this? Peter Grabick. I've worked in so many parts of the world. I've started working more in Africa through building businesses between the African diaspora and the US. And I'm very technologically, is that technologically? Technocratically? I'm not sure what is technocratically minded.
Hi, Demetrius. Technocratically, so just very much focused on first principles in development, a little bit from the higher economic framework. But I'm not an academic. Outcomes are the most important thing. So it's really applying what our best minds in the world have put together towards positive outcomes for the continent. So.
Awesome. And so, Peter, have you been aware of Africa Day, or is this something that is relatively new for you?
So I think I've seen it on the calendar. Obviously, we mark and celebrate, various points of recognition. As I mentioned, I'm technocratically minded. I'm a little focused on the technical side of things. But I'm one of those people that early in my career, I thought you could find formulas to solve problems. But as my career developed, everything's relationships, right? Everything is relationship building. People get things done in the world. And, increasingly as my career develops, I'm focused on that area. I also wanted to, give a little shout out to Pamela on some of the comments that she's made. And I am familiar with Africa. I travel to Africa frequently. I get on the ground and, do what I can. So.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. And of course, as I've said before, we're totally about making sure that the connections continue. And the AU has actually said if we don't continue to make different connections and partnerships, that the agenda cannot go forward. So awesome. Margie said, excellent. Would tea fit in the category that the gentleman is looking for? I think yes. So this is maybe one of the first connections that's happening here. Let's get you all, let me see, Little Falls Tea Garden in Limuru Highlands, Kenya, home of specialty teas. I went to school in Kenya, so I do know about these. So fantastic. I think that we will make sure that you all get connected. Were you going to say something, Margie?
Yes.
Please.
I was going to say we can invite Shalom Bako to share his thoughts on our theme. Shalom.
Oh, Shalom is here.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bako, would you like to share?
Hello, everyone. Well, happy Africa Day. I would say month. But
Happy African Day.
Yes.
Here, century.
Yes. Well, I always like being a part of this community and any discussions around Africa. Yes, 2063 is far. I mean, if we're looking at that, it's far out there. There's a lot that can be done and will be done within the next 10 years. I think that that's why there is a lot of attention on Africa currently. Everybody wants to invest in Africa. A lot of people are getting into agriculture more now. And so, yes, there is a lot of potential. But again, we've been talking about potential for far too long. Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, we can go on and on. And so I am a proponent of, no talk, just action. And that's what I like to preach is, all of that. And sorry, as you said, the diaspora, the sixth region, there's a lot more that can be done and is being done. And that's something that I am very intentional about in how we do trade. So, my company is Afrivana, and I'm the managing director there. We started in Nigeria, and we're intentional about going into the US and expanding our distribution there to connect with the diaspora. So when we talk about agriculture and trade and what products we have, a lot of times is these conversations, and I realized that putting the product in front of people in the sixth region makes a big difference. So now, instead of just talking, I say, okay, why don't you just meet me at the warehouse in Atlanta? And that way they're able to see the same thing we're talking about, rather than just talking about something theoretically, right? It's the practical things that we can do. And so I hope that on this Africa Day and moving forward, that it's less talk and more action. I think we've had a lot of talk. We've had the NGOs. We're here for business. We all want to make money. It's not charity.
Yeah.
We have the resources. We have the capability. We have the people. And I just want to be a part of the doing part. And so there's a lot of challenges. It's not an easy road. And I think that's where, at least for me, I sometimes get frustrated, because the talking, we can do Africa Day every day. We can gather, we can talk, we can talk, we can talk, we can talk. But when it comes to the execution, it is about going through the challenges, and it is not at all. It's not an easy road at all. But as long as you're willing to go through it, and can push through it, and that's where entrepreneurship and teaching the realities of entrepreneurship is very important, because it's become a fad, it's become a sort of a fantasy, but it really is a challenge. And I kind of share this to wrap it up. If you look at teams, professional teams, and I played professional soccer, and one of the things I share is that I didn't become a professional athlete because I was the best player. It's just understanding how to be coachable and how to play a position. And I think that a lot of times when we're talking about Africa, we're trying to play the same, everybody's trying to play the same position. And we really have to be strategic to understand, what does the diaspora have to offer? What does somebody on the continent have to offer? And how do we make it work as a team? But you really, really, really need action-oriented people. And I think more people that are doing it need to speak up more, in order for us to get to, not 2063, but I believe by 2035, it's going to be a totally different conversation. So thank you again for letting me speak, and happy Africa Day to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Shalom, for your awesome thoughts on action, implementation and action, because truly this is where the gap is. There's a lot of talk on policy, lots of talk, but now when it comes to doing, then we get stuck. But hopefully, with a platform like this and with a kind of mind that is focused on implementation, we can truly build the Africa we want. Another person is Mr. Fred Brown. After that, I see Doug on the call. He will be able to conclude with us, but I don't know if Mr. Fred Brown has any thoughts to share on Africa Foods, since we are having an African Union Day event. No.
Sharon, as he's coming to the mic, or if I don't know if he decides to come to the mic. Okay, so I have some thoughts. So I talked a little bit about one of the issues that I saw with the sixth region, in that there are three different NGOs or nonprofits that are looking at bringing different parts of the sixth region together. And it's difficult, because my understanding is that every region has a representative at the AU. So to have such a large region and three different groups that are trying to get together to govern themselves in order to choose one person that then goes to the AU. I mean, we have a lot of work to do there. So I was wondering if if he thought that there should be another group, like when we talk about action versus just talking, are we saying let's build something different, or are you saying just in general, let's teach entrepreneurship at, you know, at a basic level, at every level, so everyone who is involved in entrepreneurship can go up, can continue to increase? Or are you saying let's get involved in the 6th region? I realize that you're actually in one of the 5 regions. Lucky you. But even within that region, do you think, and I don't know if this is happening, are the regions already meeting so that we can plug into the educational part? And even as I say that, I realized I said I had 1 question, but I had like 3. So let me just start with the last one. Within the region where you are you finding that there are already meetings with 1, 2, 3 NGOs around Africa Day and around the 2063 agenda? Is that happening? I don't know. Did we lose him? Well, I don't, I'm asking that question because it's something that I really don't know. And I think that at least for our next Africa Day, or maybe we don't have to wait until Africa Day to celebrate Africa, that I will find out the answer to that question. So that'll be my takeaway, Ruby. I mean, Sharon, I called you Ruby, but
Yeah.
Sharon, so I don't know,
Yeah.
do you have any takeaways?
Yeah, so I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. I don't know if Shalom wants to answer this, but I'll tell you something. You know, most of the time it's there's a wide communication gap, okay, between what policyholders are actually projecting and what people on the ground actually know. Okay, so again, so that is why I said that, yes, Africa Union Day, for example, has been celebrated. But in Cameroon, where I live, for example, I doubt even if in the schools, like during this Africa Day, there was any commemorative event for children to know about this. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. So there's a lot of talk at the macro level, but then now even just transmitting the communicating it properly and then looking at the nitty-gritties on how to actually make this a reality, it's where the gap is. So you talked about, and he talked about entrepreneurship and all that, which I find very interesting because that's also what I am passionate about. Now, it is not as though there are no entrepreneurs in sub-Saharan Africa. In fact, if you walk through any street in Africa, you might easily see somebody engaging in some small business on even a tabletop. So there's that drive to actually build something. However, the problem is at the level of a mindset limitation. So are entrepreneurs building businesses that can truly sustain an economy? Do they know how to build these businesses? Do they have the tools to build global businesses? Are they entrepreneurs because they need to survive? Or are they entrepreneurs because they want to create a robust economic system? So these are so it's about mental capacity building on one hand also. So these are some of the little challenges that, yeah, there's the macro project. Let's get more entrepreneurs. Let's support them. Let's get venture capitalists investing. Let's support them. But now at the micro level, what is the mindset of these entrepreneurs? Do they even understand what it means to grow a business, to go through a business growth process? Are they looking to employ thousands in their businesses, or they are looking to just have their daily bread because there are no jobs? You see, so yeah. So recently, exactly. Recently, The Economist published a report and said that Africa has many small businesses, but no real businesses. So who is building the Fortune 500 businesses in sub-Saharan Africa? How are they building? Do those entrepreneurs know how to build businesses? You know, so these are the questions we can leave here with and think about how to truly make whatever vision we have come to pass. Yes, in whatever aspects we find ourselves in.
I think that's it. I love it. I know we're 2 minutes over and the global chamber is shaking. But I just want to say, don't wait for somebody else. You heard this conversation, right? Start where you are. If you can go to a university, if you can join in with someone else, if you know a little bit that somebody else doesn't know about entrepreneurship, we can do it. We are we are who we seek, right? No one's coming to save us. It's us, and we're going to build it together. So thank you for being here. Thank you for celebrating Africa Day, however you do that. And Cesar, I will give it back to you.
Thank you very much, Demetrius, and thank you, Sharon, for the amazing conversation today. It's a pity that we didn't get a chance to hear from Mr. Benza. I've been WhatsApping him. It's definitely a bandwidth issue. So maybe, Ruby, we can plan for a follow-up conversation with him. So we look forward to it. I would like to ask Doug if he wants to say a few words as a closing remarks, and then I'm gonna put another song that Ruby sent us for the closure. Doug, are you there?
I am. Cesar, how are you?
Good.
Sorry, Ruby, that you're under the weather. And Demetrius, when we're sick or we're feeling a little bit down, you always bring the A game to the table. Your enthusiasm and your knowledge and your connectivity and your passion and inspiration are inspirational for all of us. So thank you so much. Thank you for seeing the potential of Africa and the reality of all of the really good things that are happening. I did not know that you had gone to school in Kenya. So that's amazing that you have that experience. Congratulations on that. Africa is going to be amazing over the next decade and two, and I hope to travel many times. I'll just say that we are putting together a Global Chamber Tanzania event that was going to be in July. As it turns out, we'll be doing a Globinar then, and it's been rescheduled to November 12th through 14th. It's a Wednesday through Friday. And so I think I have those dates right. So I hope and encourage all of you to participate in that in-person Gateway to Africa event in November with the president of Tanzania. Hopefully she'll be reelected if it all works out well. That's happening in October. And in the meantime, let's connect, talk about, and act on the opportunities that are happening all over Africa. Back to you, Cesar.
Thank you, Doug, and thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. And as I said, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music here to continue celebrating Africa Day. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the music, Ruby.
Bye.